Next week on Beyond
Free
the
from
Gates,
toasts and
sisters Danny
scrutinizing
and
glances,
Nicole will learn
just
their
enough
mother has a
distance for the
terminal
solitude
illness.
within each of
The
them to
end of
touch. People
2025 and
initially
the
thought it
beginning
was a
of
sign of respect,
2026 will also
Isaiah's
bring
way of
romance, an
saying she was
unexpected
more
alliance,
important than social
relationship
appearances.
troubles, and a
She didn't
guest
realize it
appearance
was
by
also a
Kenny
perfect
Lattimore.
tactic to push things
Below is a
faster than
preview
reason.
video for
In
Beyond the
that
Gates for the
privacy,
week of December
emotions had room
29th
to
to
swell.
January 2nd.
Eva's
Key
feelings of
points to
emptiness,
remember.
her longing to
Danny
be
and Nicole
chosen,
Dupree received
prioritized,
devastating
to
news
belong,
as their family
suddenly
faces
seemed
a
to be filled
life-changing
simply by
diagnosis.
Isaiah looking at
A
her
budding
as if he had
romance,
found what he
fraught with
needed.
tension,
When the
unfolds
boundaries
as
were
New Year's Eve brings
erased,
kisses,
Eva sensed a kind
questions,
of
and
determination from
relationship
Isaiah, a
instability.
burning
A
urgency
Leslie
that she
makes a bold
mistakenly thought.
decision, proposing a risky idea to Joey. A grand celebration featuring many famous stars takes place, including a special performance by Kenny Lattimore. New Year's Eve in Fairmont Crest is always enveloped in a dazzling splendor, making it seem as though any cracks could be hidden by the lights. The houses lining the inner courtyard resemble a giant string of jewelry boxes, windows ablaze with celebratory lights, the sound of fireworks echoing from the river, and people speaking of a clean new year in the tone of those accustomed to living in secrecy. But as midnight approaches, the atmosphere resembles a stage where everyone is meticulously crafting their perfect story, while behind their backs, silent. Calculations are piling up like playing cards. The DMV crowd flocking to Orphe Jeans is so dense that even the familiar faces of Fairmont Crest fade into the sea of people, and it is this very crowd that creates the most valuable asset for conspirators, a large enough throng for any wrongdoing to be disguised as a mere coincidence. Orphe Jeans is adorned like a sanctuary of music and wealth. Someone had transformed the main hall into a tunnel of light, where guests were swallowed up by the scent of expensive perfume, the clinking of glasses, and the deliberately exaggerated laughter. Madison was with Chelsea, her eyes shining at the appearance of the star of the night, as if his mere presence was enough to wash away all the sordid rumors circulating in the community. But Chelsea viewed the stage with the wariness of someone who had witnessed far too many performances beyond just music. A major event at Fairmont Crest was rarely just entertainment. It was often a pretext for someone to shift power, switch sides, or erase their tracks. In the VIP corner, handshakes flashed by, nods served as agreements, and smiles were practiced to mask the tension in their eyes. Ted appeared as a man trying to convince himself he was entering a new chapter. He had the air of someone broken and trying to move on, but deep inside was an unnameable emptiness, a draining feeling he dared not acknowledge. And Shanice was beside him, so close that onlookers could easily believe it was a romance blossoming from companionship. Shanice wasn't the easy type to read. She had a gentleness enough to lower one's guard, a professionalism enough to disprove rumors, and an ambition carefully concealed beneath timely concern. Ted felt Shanice's warmth, like a coat placed on someone shivering, but that very warmth frightened him. Because a man like Ted understood, some touches bring life back, and some are like a noose, tightening slowly without us realizing it until it's too late. As the clock approached midnight, Orphe Jean's entire town tensed like a taut string. People counted down, raised their glasses, cheered, confident that this was the moment they were allowed to forget everything. And amidst the cheers, Ted gave Shanice a kiss, a reflex to cling to a fulcrum in the chaos of life. That kiss, to outsiders, might be proof of happiness. But to those who knew Fairmont Crest, it was like a spark, because every connection here was measured by self-interest. Did Shanice truly have feelings for Ted, or was she entering his life with a pre-planned objective? Did Ted kiss out of emotion, or to prove to himself that he could still start over, that he no longer belonged to the past? Elsewhere in the hall, Nicole was absent, and her absence became the space where explanations sprouted like weeds. Vanessa tried to remain calm, trying to create a story reasonable enough so the crowd wouldn't sense the urgency. But in this community, people don't just listen. They scrutinize expressions, breathing patterns, whether someone's hand trembles while holding a glass. News of Anita, of a diagnosis that could shatter the Dupree family, lurked like a ghost behind all the congratulations. And at that moment, Nicole's absence was no longer a personal matter, but a sign of a crisis engulfing the entire family. What would Nicole feel if she saw Ted and Shanice kiss? That question, even without an answer, already created a rift in the hearts of those involved. Nicole had once been in Shanice's place, standing beside Ted as a part of his life. Even as an ex-husband, Ted remained a scar that never truly disappeared, only masked by work, honor, and a layer of pride. Nicole could tell herself she didn't care, that the past was closed, that she had other choices, other paths. But jealousy doesn't always stem from love. Sometimes it comes from possessiveness, from a feeling of being replaced, from the fear of having lost something that someone else can easily possess. And Nicole, in the midst of her family's impending collapse due to her mother's illness, was even more susceptible to unconscious anger. Anger that the world continued to turn, anger that Ted could give a kiss as if it were nothing, anger that she no longer had the right to live simply. Leslie, however, was different. Leslie didn't need to see it with her own eyes. She could sense the change like the smell of blood in water. She was the kind of person who was ruthlessly decisive, always calculating her next 3 moves. If Shanice was truly getting closer to Ted, Leslie would feel it was an insult. Not out of pure love, but out of territory. Leslie hated the feeling of being excluded from a chessboard she once thought she had the right to place her pieces on. And if she knew Ted was softening toward Shanice, her reaction wouldn't be crying or clinging. It would be attack. Leslie would turn a kiss into a weapon, intimacy into evidence, and the emotions of others into tools to corner them. She wouldn't ask Shanice if she was being sincere. She would only ask where Shanice might be broken. The year-end music event made things even more dangerous, as the crowd was the perfect cloak for clandestine dealings. As the spotlight swept across, as the music swelled, some people slipped off the dance floor into the dark hallways, some hands passed something small, some eyes met long enough to confirm a deal. Orphe Jeans tonight wasn't just a place to say goodbye to 2025, it was where a plan for 2026 was being finalized. Someone might be using the midnight moment to swap a USB drive, steal a phone, copy an access card, or plant a listening device in the VIP area. Anything could go unnoticed, because everyone was focused on the stage, believing that the most important thing tonight was the final song. Meanwhile, in another house, Eva sat on the sofa, like someone trying to balance on the edge of a cliff. Isaiah said what he thought was reality, that he could have both a girlfriend and a career, as if affection were just an accessory that could change depending on his work schedule. But those words fell like a knife. Eva recoiled, not just from pain. She recoiled like someone who had just realized a trap they had been standing in for a long time. An unintentional word, or the revelation of a hidden truth. Isaiah might have secretly loved someone else, while still seeking Eva as a safe haven, as a backup option to maintain his image and stability. And if so, every warm moment between them suddenly turned into a charade. But Eva wasn't innocent either. Her fear didn't just stem from betrayal. It also came from the fear of being unmasked. Eva might be hiding a secret that made her keep Isaiah close not out of love, but for self-defense. A secret involving his past in the DMV, a connection to powerful figures, or even a pact with someone is controlling Isaiah from afar. Isaiah thinks he has the power of choice, but his career is always being manipulated. His manager, his sponsors, those who decide where he appears, who is allowed to be near him, and the price he pays if he loves the wrong person. If Eva is a risk, someone will force Isaiah to stay away. If Eva is the key, someone will force him to keep her. And in that game, genuine feelings become secondary, leaving only cold decisions and pent-up anger. That anger doesn't just reside in Eva's room. It spreads through the storyline like poison. At Joey's casino, 2 of the area's most dangerous men meet with the confidence of those unafraid of being seen. Joey isn't the typical villain or snarl. He was a man who knew when to smile, who knew how to feign politeness while his hand remained on the knife handle. His casino was a small empire where money changed hands so quickly that morality couldn't keep up. And Leslie entered it like a queen of war, without asking permission, without beating around the bush, simply placing a proposal on the table that she believed Joey couldn't ignore. That proposal might have a veneer of legality, but at its core was power. Leslie might want to launder money through the casino by turning dirty funds into clean profits. Or she might want to use Joey's system to trap someone, gather information, crack accounts, and create a scandal that could kill someone's career. Joey might agree out of ambition, but also because Leslie held a dangerous personal secret, an old incident, an unmentioned death, an exchange that left him with no way out. And what did Leslie want from Joey? Not just money. She wanted a door into the world Vanessa was in. She wanted to steal everything Vanessa had, not just her job, but also her status, her credibility, her chosen position within the power structure. For Leslie, the sweetest victory was always when she obtained what others thought was the safest. Vanessa, if she knew, would understand she was being hunted. But tonight Vanessa was busy shielding Nicole, busy keeping rumors about Anita from exploding in the heart of Orphe Jeans. Leslie's danger lay in her choosing the moment when her opponent was weakest. And the Dupree family was weak, not only because of illness, but because long-suppressed secrets were about to surface. Werner sat in the silence of a man who used to make decisions for entire meeting rooms, now facing the truth. That there were things he couldn't control, Anita's illness, his children's fears, and the consequences of the lies that had accumulated like mud under the floor. He thought it was time to tell the children, not just morally but strategically. He understood that if the truth came from someone else's mouth, the family would no longer have a chance to control the story. But Anita struggled to accept the new normal in the way of a woman who had always been the pillar, now finding her body betraying her. She might be angry at herself, at fate, at Vernon for keeping it a secret for so long, or at turning her health into a political calculation. And if what needed to be said wasn't just her illness, but a far more terrible truth, a bloodline secret, a past betrayal, something buried beneath honor, then that confession would be a bombshell exploding in the heart of the Dupree household. When Nicole received the news, her world collapsed, not in a dramatic, noisy way, but in a way that sucked all the air out of her lungs. Nicole might be strong on paper, but before her mother, she was still just a child. Her anger would have nowhere to go, so it would find a target. Vernon and Sharon, whom she had once suspected of having shady dealings, would return to her mind like an unwashed stain. But grief could cause Nicole to set aside all her secret hunts and throw herself into a single mission, to save Anita at any cost, even if it means breaking the rules, even if it means colluding with people she hates. Or conversely, at her most desperate moment, Nicole will find the feeling of being deceived again unbearable, and she will erupt, demanding that Vernon answer for everything. Why everything was kept secret, who decided to remain silent, and who benefited from that silence. In that panic, Nicole might also be pulled back to emotions she thought were dead. Ted used to be her anchor. Carlton might be a new option. But when a family falls apart, people often seek out familiar things, even if those things once hurt them. Nicole might hate Ted for his past, but she still longs for the feeling of someone understanding her without needing an explanation. And if she knew Ted was moving toward Shanice, her jealousy might not be about winning Ted back, but about the fear of losing an option. When everything falls apart, Nicole doesn't like the feeling of being left behind, especially when she's drowning in bad news. In another scene from New Year's Eve, Andre comforts Danny, and Danny is like a flame trapped in a glass vase. She's hurting for her mother, but that pain is mixed with something else, the helplessness of watching her family prepare to enter another cycle of secrecy. Danny can see Vernon and Anita always trying to manage their children's emotions, always choosing the timing, choosing the words, as if family ties were a campaign. And Danny hates that. She hates it because it makes her feel untrusted, uninvolved in the truth of her own family. Danny's anger needs an outlet, and Bill becomes the perfect target. When Danny confronted Bill at the party, it was no longer about past feelings or personal vendettas. It had transformed into a battle between two people once bound by unbreakable ties, their daughters. Danny mentioned her daughters as if she were drawing a weapon from its sheath. Because if Anita had breast cancer, the fear of genetics would cast an unnamed shadow over their future. Danny might be panicking, thinking she saw her daughter's future in the mirror. The tests, the waiting for results, the anxiety. And Bill, with his controlling instincts, would react like someone whose power was threatened. He didn't want to be held accountable, didn't want to be drawn into the Dupree family's emotions when he had already built a different life. Haley stood there like a shield, but not just to protect Bill. She chased Danny away, fearing Danny would reveal something Bill didn't know, something that could shatter their current marriage or destroy the unspoken agreements Haley held. Haley might fear a truth involving her children, her property, her reputation, or that someone is using Anita's illness as an excuse to manipulate things. And Danny, pushed aside like an outcast, will only flare up even more. When people are cornered, they either break or bite. Danny isn't the type to break first. New Year's Eve ended not with fireworks, but with widening cracks. In Orphe Jeans, the music still blared, the superstars still sang, the crowd still pretended it was just a party. But behind the scenes of Fairmont Crest life, a kiss sowed seeds of suspicion, a casino encounter laid the groundwork for a dark scheme, a remark in the living room pushed a relationship to the brink, and Vernon's advice signaled that the truth was about to be pulled from the shadows. 2026 hadn't even begun, but those involved already felt it like a storm brewing in their chests. Each person harbors their own anger. Ted is angry because his life is no longer certain. Shanice is angry because she has to love and doubt. Nicole is angry because she's lost control. Leslie is angry because she's been replaced. Eva is angry because she's been disrespected. Isaiah is angry because he's been dragged between love and power. Vernon is angry because he couldn't protect Anita by remaining silent. Danny is angry because her children's future is threatened. Bill is angry because he's been dragged into someone else's tragedy. Haley is angry because everything she built is in danger of collapsing. And as night falls, the most terrifying thing isn't Anita's illness, nor Ted's kiss, but the feeling that an invisible hand is exploiting all those cracks to orchestrate a reckoning. The crowd helped conceal a clandestine transaction, but it also inadvertently created witnesses no one could control. Cameras, phones, an eye that saw too much, someone accidentally picking up something that didn't belong to them. In the new year, just one misplaced piece of evidence will send the conspiracy to the brink of collapse, exploding between the Dupree family, Orphe Jean's household, Joey's casino, and the hearts of those who thought they were strong enough to endure. If Vernon truly tells the truth, Nicole will not only have to choose between saving her mother or pursuing the liar, she will have to choose between keeping the remaining family intact or tearing everything apart herself so that no one can lie again. And in that moment, 2026 will begin with a war that no one enters with clean hands.